What aspects of a man's life are most women unaware of? 20 years passed before I was told by a woman other than my mother that I was handsome. If you think a guy is handsome, tell him. Chances are he hasn't heard it in a long time. Obviously some women aren't very often told that they are beautiful, and some men are told that they are handsome all the time, but it seems to me there's still a large discrepancy there. I know it's late and no one will read this, but F it. If 2 people learn, then I'll be happy. Guys have zero emotional support structure, like F. Anytime I try to tell anyone I have real emotions or opinions, I get shot down to the point where I don't really feel safe talking to anyone anymore. It's easily the largest problem in my life, and from what I understand, a lot of guys have to deal with it throughout their entire teenage/young adult life. Sometimes guys are quiet, nothing is wrong, I just don't have any words worth saying. Or, at least in my case, I have words to say, but the most likely conversation to follow would be uninteresting and tedious. That as men, we also want to feel sexually wanted too. I had an ex that was horrible. She'd complain about me not making it apparent enough, and then she'd complain about me making it too apparent. She'd hate if I was too spontaneous, but would then accuse me of being too predictable. Meanwhile, she only twice ever told me I was sexy, or that she really wanted me, and that was exclusively in the first month. After a while it was only ever me pursuing her, and her not even bothering to care about pursuing me. After a year and a half I realized how low my self-esteem had fallen in that regard, and started to emotionally disconnect from her. How much interactions with girls during puberty shape us for our whole life. Ever touched a girl on the arm, and she said EWW? Yuck. Well, we'll be forever shy in that regard. Girls telling you that you're weird. We'll always try to appear not weird. My case, /u/K1N3R. You seem very clingy and like you imitate your best friend. I try to prove that I'm very independent all the time 20 years later. Man has never wanted to get up from their show/video game/book to help carry groceries into the house. So he has evolved so that he is able to carry everything from the car in one trip. We are trying. Wanting time on our own has utterly no reflection on not wanting to spend time with them. Can't tell you how many times someone's taken it personally that I just fancied my own company. The number of times you put up a front and choose not to complain about things because men aren't supposed to complain. Every man has his secret sorrows which the world knows not, and oftentimes we call a man cold when he is only sad. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. G's gilded twice. Thanks folks, I put my dog down last week. I'm incredibly sad and cried for 2 days straight because he was my son. I still get so sad that I can't function or eat for a long time. But after those 2 days, I hardly shed a tear, and my parents and friends all wonder how I'm fine and how I managed to get through it on my own. I didn't and I haven't. It's still the most excruciating thing to go home after work to a basically empty apartment. Not to mention when my other dog goes looking for him or sniffs around for him and wanders outside. She's extremely painful and no one really knows that I'm still on the verge of tears 90% of the time I start to think about him or see something that reminds me of him. Virtually everything in my apartment. The satisfaction of pissing a skid mark off the side of the toilet. That when I, a white guy, take my black nephews out to the park, I get looks from women that are that he is a sexual predator. I have had police come up to me twice because women thought I was there planning on stealing someone's kid, even though I was there with my nephews. Another time, I was walking with my nephews and a woman came up to me, looked at them, and said, "Do you know this man?" They said yes, and she said, "Are you sure he didn't take you or is hurting you, is he?" This is something that I have heard other guys deal with too, not just myself. Yep, as a guy who works for the parks department, I'm naturally around a lot of playgrounds and a lot of kids, and I make it a point not to talk to any of them if I don't have to. Even when they come up to me and start talking, I will usually only give curt answers until they just get bored and leave me alone. Because I'm mortified that some tiger mom is gonna think that just by talking to their kid I'm trying to prey on them. I've been asked to switch seats with a woman on a plane because some kid that was flying solo happened to have a seat next to me. Did you move? Do you have any idea How offensive to me that accusation is. Are you a murderer? Is that person a serial killer? Am I? I'm not even going to say it in front of the child. No, I'm not. I'm offended that you even expect me to put that in words. The requirement to be established, have an established job, have a house, to be independent. It may just be because of my age, but most of the girls I know prefer older guys because they are more likely to have aspects of their lives set up. I have no idea what my future is going to hold, but I keep that as quiet as I can. Chest hair is super good for lathering soap. Gender stereotypes exist for us. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I've been called terrible things all because I don't work like a man should. This happens even though I also collect VA disability because of injuries. Sustained one in the USMC. I've been told I'm not a good role model for my son. Called a degenerate, even though I'm a college graduate. I've even been told I'm not a real man. It's really depressing. That at any given moment, we may just be fantasizing about someone trying to take people at work hostage, and all the cool ninja we'd like to think we'd do.